Tae-Jin Park wiped the sweat from his forehead as he crawled out from under the engine panel. The new soul was showing her age again, and keeping the old trade ship running took all his skill as an engineer. Outside the small porthole, Mars hung like a red marble against the black of space. "Hey, Tae-Jin," Hana Kim's voice crackled through his comm unit. "Captain wants to see you on the bridge." Tae-Jin sighed and put down his tools. He had been hoping to finish the engine work before they reached the Mars trading station. The ship's engines made strange noises that worried him, but Captain Dongmin Lee always wanted to stick to schedule. On the bridge, Captain Lee stood looking at the main screen. The Mars orbital station grew larger as they approached. It was a massive metal ring spinning slowly in space with ships from dozens of different worlds docked to its arms. "Tae-Jin, we're going to dock at Bay 7, the captain said. "Load the medical supplies for the Centauri colony and get us ready to leave in 6 hours. "No delays," Tae-Jin nodded. This was routine work. Earth was still new to galactic trade, and most of their jobs involved carrying supplies between human colonies. The other alien species barely noticed them. 2 hours later, Tae-Jin was checking cargo manifests when Hana found him in the loading bay. "You need to see this," she said, pointing to a small alien ship docked nearby. The ship was beautiful, made of some silver metal that seemed to glow. But thick black smoke poured from its engine vents and Tae-Jin could hear the screaming sound of a dying power core. "Valari ship," Hana said. "The pilot has been asking everyone for help, but nobody wants to get involved. Something about medical supplies going bad." Tae-Jin walked closer to the alien ship. Near the cargo bay, he saw her for the first time. She was tall and thin, clearly not human but similar in basic shape. Her skin had patches that looked like purple crystal, and her eyes were bright silver. She wore simple trader clothes, but everything about her suggested she came from a warrior culture. The alien woman was arguing with a group of other traders. Her voice was musical but filled with frustration. "The plague spreads on Kepler 442c, she said in accented English. "My cargo can save thousands, but it dies in 8 hours without proper cooling. Please, I ask only for basic repair help." A fat trader from some species Tae-Jin didn't recognize laughed. "Not our problem, Valari. Should have maintained your ship better." The alien woman's silver eyes flashed with anger, but she said nothing. The other traders walked away, still laughing. Tae-Jin approached her carefully. He had never spoken directly to an alien before. "Excuse me," he said. "I'm an engineer. Maybe I can help?" The alien woman turned to look at him. Up close, he could see that her crystal skin patches actually glowed faintly with inner light. When she spoke, her voice was softer than before. "You are human," she said. It wasn't a question. "Yes, my name is Tae-Jin Park. I work on that ship there." He pointed to the new soul. "I am Vela Kess of the Valari merchant clan Kessathara. My ship's cooling system has failed. Without it, the medicine I carry will become useless. Many will die." Tae-Jin looked at her ship. The smoke was getting thicker. "Can I look at your engines?" Vela Kess seemed surprised. "You would help me? But we have never met. I can offer little payment." "Sometimes people help because it's the right thing to do," Tae-Jin said. The alien woman stared at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Come, I will show you." Inside the Valari ship, everything was different from human design. The walls curved in strange ways and the controls looked more like art than machinery. But engines were engines, and Tae-Jin could see the problem quickly. "Your main cooling pump is cracked," he said, pointing to a split in a crystal component. "And your backup system has a clogged filter. That's why everything is overheating. Can it be repaired?" Vela asked. Tae-Jin thought for a moment. "I can't fix the crystal pump, but I have an idea for the backup system. It's not pretty, but it might work." For the next 3 hours, Tae-Jin worked inside the alien ship. He used spare parts from the new soul and some creative engineering to bypass the damaged systems. It wasn't perfect, but it would keep the medicine cold long enough for Vela to reach her destination. Vela watched him work with growing amazement. "You modify systems in ways I have never seen," she said. "Human engineering is unusual." "We're good at making things work even when they shouldn't," Tae-Jin replied, tightening a connection. When he finished, the ship's engines hummed smoothly. The black smoke stopped, and the temperature readings showed the cargo bay was cooling properly. "It will hold for about 2 weeks, Tae-Jin said, wiping his hands on a rag. "Long enough to get where you're going." Vela Kess stood very still, looking at him. Her silver eyes seemed to glow brighter. "Tae-Jin Park," she said formally. You have saved my mission and the lives of thousands you will never meet. In my culture, such an act creates a debt that cannot be ignored. She pulled out a small crystal knife and made a tiny cut on her palm. Purple blood welled up and began to glow. What are you doing? Tae-Jin asked, worried. Creating a bond of essence, Vela said. The highest debt one Valari can owe another. I swear by the light of my ancestors that I will repay this debt, no matter the cost or time required. She pressed her bleeding palm against Tae-Jin's hand. He felt a strange tingling sensation, and for a moment the crystal patches on her skin blazed with light. I don't understand, Tae-Jin said. You don't owe me anything. I just helped because I could. That is why the debt is so great, Vela replied. You helped expecting nothing. Among the Valari, this is the most sacred act possible. Captain Lee's voice suddenly crackled through Tae-Jin's comm unit. Tae-Jin! Where are you? We leave in 10 minutes. I have to go, Tae-Jin said. Vela nodded. I understand. But remember my words, Tae-Jin Park. One day I will return to repay this debt. Watch for me. Tae-Jin hurried back to the New Seoul. As their ship pulled away from the station, he watched through a porthole as Vela's silver ship departed in the opposite direction, heading for the outer colonies. What were you doing over there? Hana asked. Just helping someone, Tae-Jin replied. Captain Lee was not happy. We're behind schedule because of your side project, he grumbled. Next time, mind your own business. But Tae-Jin barely heard him. He was thinking about the alien woman and her strange words about debt and honor. It had seemed important to her, but he didn't really understand alien customs. As the weeks passed, the incident faded from his mind. The New Seoul continued its trade runs, and Tae-Jin continued fixing engines and solving problems. Life returned to normal. 3 years later, Tae-Jin was working late in the engine room when Hana burst in, her face pale with excitement. Tae-Jin, you need to see this right now, she said. There's a huge alien ship in Earth orbit, and they're asking specifically for you. For me? Tae-Jin put down his tools, confused. Why would aliens want to talk to me? I don't know, but Earth defense is going crazy. The ship is massive, bigger than anything we've ever seen. And get this, it's Valari. Tae-Jin's heart skipped a beat. He remembered silver eyes and glowing crystal skin. He remembered words about debt and honor. Did they give a name? He asked quietly. Yeah, Hana said. The commander says her name is Vela Kess and she's here to repay a debt. Tae-Jin stared at his friend for a moment, then looked out the small porthole toward Earth. Somewhere up there, an alien woman had kept her promise. The debt was about to be repaid. The Earth Defense Force Command Center buzzed with nervous energy. Admiral Sung-Ho Choi stood before the main display screen, watching the massive alien vessel that hung in orbit like a dark moon. It was 3 times larger than Earth's biggest warship, and its weapon systems were clearly visible even from this distance. Sir, the alien commander is requesting permission to land, reported Communications Officer Yuna Seo. She says she will only speak with someone named Tae-Jin Park. Admiral Choi frowned. Who is this Park? Why would an alien fleet commander want to meet with a civilian? We're checking records now, sir, Yuna replied. Tae-Jin Park, age 31, engineer aboard the merchant vessel New Seoul. No military background, no diplomatic experience, just a regular trade ship worker. This makes no sense, the admiral muttered. Are we sure this isn't some kind of trick? Dr. Yuna Seo, the station's xenobiologist, stepped forward. She had been studying the alien ship for hours. Admiral, I've been researching Valari culture. This could be related to their honor code. They have very strict rules about debts and repayment. What kind of debts? Admiral Choi asked. Unknown, sir. But among the Valari, honor debts are considered more important than family, military duty, or even their own lives. The admiral looked back at the screen. The alien ship had not moved, but smaller ships could be seen launching from its bays. They arranged themselves in what looked like an honor formation. Get this Tae-Jin Park up here immediately, he ordered. 2 hours later, Tae-Jin stood nervously in the command center. He had never been in such an important place, surrounded by so many high-ranking military officers. Everyone stared at him like he was some kind of puzzle they couldn't solve. Mr. Park, Admiral Choi said, do you know why an alien commander wants to speak with you? Tae-Jin thought about the incident 3 years ago. At the time, it had seemed like such a small thing. I helped repair her ship once. She said something about a debt, but I didn't think it was important. What exactly did you do? Dr. Seo asked, stepping closer. Her cooling system was broken. Medicine was going to spoil. I fixed it with some spare parts and creative engineering. She seemed grateful, but I never expected. He gestured toward the screen showing the alien fleet. Dr. Seo's eyes widened. She swore a debt of essence, didn't she? Did she cut her palm and touch your hand? How did you know? Tae-jin asked, surprised. Because that's the highest form of honor debt in Valari culture, Dr. Seo explained to the room. It means she considers herself bound to repay your kindness no matter what it costs her. For 3 years, this has been eating at her. She probably rose through the ranks just to gain enough resources to properly repay you. Admiral Choi looked skeptical. You're saying she brought a warship to Earth because of a favor? Admiral, you don't understand Valari psychology, Dr. Seo said. To them, an unpaid debt of essence is worse than death. She literally cannot rest until she repays him. The communications console beeped. Sir, the Valari commander is requesting immediate transport down to the surface. She says she cannot wait any longer. Admiral Choi looked at Tae-jin. Do you want to meet with her? Tae-jin felt overwhelmed. 3 years ago, he had been a simple engineer helping someone in trouble. Now there was a fleet in Earth's orbit because of his actions. I guess I don't have a choice. Actually, you do, Dr. Seo said quietly. And that choice is very important. If you refuse to meet with her or refuse to let her repay the debt, it will be considered the ultimate insult in her culture. It could create a diplomatic incident. An hour later, Tae-jin waited in a secure meeting room. Through the windows, he could see the alien shuttle that had landed at the spaceport. It was beautiful, made of the same silver metal he remembered from Vela's old trading ship. The door opened and she walked in. Bella Kess looked different than he remembered. She still had the same crystal skin patches and silver eyes, but now she wore the uniform of a high-ranking military officer. Her movements were more confident, more commanding, but when she saw Tae-jin, her expression softened. Tae-jin Park, she said, and her musical voice was exactly as he remembered. You look well. Hello, Vela, you look different. More important. She smiled slightly. I have risen to the rank of fleet commander. It was necessary to gain the resources needed to properly repay my debt to you. Behind her, another Valari officer entered. This one was shorter and stockier with darker crystal patches. This is Commander Boram Jang, my second in command, Vela said. Boram looked at Tae-jin with obvious curiosity. So this is the human who inspired 3 years of obsession, she said in accented English. Boram, Vela warned. I'm just saying what everyone thinks, Commander. You turned down promotions, wealth, even marriage offers because of this debt. Some in the fleet wonder if you've lost your mind. Vela's silver eyes flashed dangerously. Some in the fleet forget their place. Tae-jin stepped between them quickly. Please, I don't want to cause problems. Vela, you really don't owe me anything. What I did was simple. Anyone would have helped. No, Vela said firmly. I asked dozens of beings for help that day. Only you offered aid with no thought of reward. This is why the debt is so sacred. She gestured, and Boram brought forward a small chest. I offer you command of one of my vessels with a crew of 50 Valari warriors, or riches enough to buy your own fleet, or territory on 3 different Valari worlds with full mining rights. Tae-jin stared at the chest. He could see precious metals and gems inside, worth more money than he could imagine. Vela, this is too much. I can't accept any of this. The room fell silent. Vela and Boram looked at each other with what seemed like horror. You refuse my repayment? Vela asked slowly. I'm not refusing. I'm saying it's not necessary. You don't owe me anything, Boram stepped forward. Human, do you understand what you're saying? In our culture, refusing to allow debt repayment is the greatest insult possible. It suggests you consider the debtor worthless. That's not what I mean at all, Tae-jin said quickly. Vela, you're obviously an honorable person. I respect you. I just don't need repayment for helping someone. Vela studied his face carefully. Your culture is different from ours, she said finally. Perhaps there is another way to resolve this debt. Before anyone could respond, the room's communication system activated. Admiral Choi's voice filled the air. All personnel, we have a situation. Long-range sensors have detected a large fleet approaching the outer solar system. Configuration unknown, but they appear to be on an intercept course for Earth. Estimated arrival, 18 hours. Vela and Boram immediately pulled out small devices that began glowing and making soft, beeping sounds. They spoke rapidly in their own language for several seconds. What is it? Tae-jin asked. Hegemony ships, Vela said, her voice grim. A conquest fleet. They must have detected Earth's radio signals and decided your world is ready for integration. Integration? Taejin asked. Slavery, Boram translated bluntly. The hegemony absorbs species they consider useful. They turn them into workers and soldiers for their empire. Taejin felt his stomach drop. How many ships? Vela checked her device again. At least 200 vessels. Fully armed for planetary assault. Admiral Choi's voice came through the comm again. Fleet Commander Kess, we're detecting weapons charging on your vessel. Please explain your intentions. Vela picked up the communication device. Admiral Choi, I am arming my fleet not against Earth but to defend it. The approaching vessels belong to the hegemony, a coalition of conquest-focused species. They intend to enslave your people. Why should we trust you? The Admiral's voice was suspicious. Vela looked at Taejin. Because I owe this man a debt of essence, and now I see how it must be repaid. She activated her device again and spoke in her own language. Through the windows, Taejin could see the alien ships in orbit beginning to move into defensive positions. Vela, what are you doing? Taejin asked. I am swearing a new oath, she replied. I will defend your world as if it were my own. I will fight beside your people against the hegemony. This is how I repay my debt to you, Taejin Park. Boram looked worried. Commander, we have only 12 ships. The hegemony fleet will outnumber us 20-1. Then we will die with honor, Vela said simply. The debt must be repaid. Taejin stared at her, realizing that his simple act of kindness 3 years ago was about to start a war. The Earth Defense Force war room was chaos. Officers ran between stations, updating tactical displays and coordinating with ships across the solar system. Taejin sat in a corner, feeling completely out of place as military experts planned for humanity's first interstellar war. Admiral Choi stood before the main display, which showed the approaching hegemony fleet as red dots moving steadily toward Earth. The fleet was massive, 200 ships of various sizes, all bristling with weapons. Status report, the Admiral ordered. Sir, we have 37 combat vessels ready for action, reported Captain Jin Woo-han, a young pilot who looked barely old enough to be in the military. The Mars Defense Station has 16 more ships and the lunar bases can contribute 12 patrol craft. 65 ships against 200, Admiral Choi muttered. And theirs are probably more advanced than ours. Commander Sujin Park, Taejin's sister, stepped forward from the fighter pilot briefing area. Her face was grim as she looked at her brother. The Valari fleet commander is requesting permission to coordinate our defense, she said. Her 12 ships are apparently very advanced, but even combined, we're still badly outnumbered. Dr. Yuniseo looked up from her alien culture research. Admiral, I've been studying what we know about the hegemony. They're a collection of different species that expand by conquering other worlds. They specialize in quick, overwhelming attacks that break enemy morale. What about the Valari? Admiral Choi asked. Can we trust them? Based on what I've learned about their honor code, yes, Dr. Seo replied. Fleet Commander Kess literally cannot betray us while she has an honor debt to repay. Her crew will follow her orders even if it means death. Taejin stood up. Admiral, can I speak with Vela? Fleet Commander Kess? Maybe there's something we haven't considered? The Admiral nodded. At this point, we need every idea we can get. 20 minutes later, Taejin was aboard Vela's flagship. The Valari ship was even more impressive on the inside than he had imagined. The walls seemed to pulse with soft light, and the technology was far beyond anything humans had built. Vela met him in the command center, where dozens of Valari officers worked at stations that looked more like art than machinery. Through the large windows, Earth hung blue and white in the darkness of space. Your planet is beautiful, Vela said softly. I understand now why my debt brought me here. Vela, you don't have to do this, Taejin said. You could take your ships and leave. The hegemony might follow you instead of attacking Earth. No, she replied firmly. The hegemony has already marked your world for conquest. They will not abandon their plan. And I cannot abandon my debt. Boram approached them carrying a tactical display pad. Commander, I've analyzed the approaching fleet. The hegemony is using a standard conquest formation. Their primary target is your planet's infrastructure. Power plants, communication centers, government buildings. They want to break human resistance quickly. What about their command structure? Taejin asked. Their fleet is controlled by a war prime named Krexvoth, Boram replied. He leads from a massive command ship at the center of the formation. If we could disable that ship, the rest of the fleet would lose coordination. Vela studied the display. 12 Valari ships and 65 human vessels against 200 hegemony warships. Even if we could reach their command ship, we would all die in the attempt. Maybe that's not the only way, Taejin said slowly. Everyone looked at him. When I fixed your ship 3 years ago, I didn't have the right parts or the proper tools. But I made it work anyway by using what I had in unexpected ways. You suggest improvisation? Vela asked. Humans are good at making things work even when they shouldn't, Taejin replied. Maybe we don't need to fight them the way they expect. Commander Boram looked skeptical. War is not engineering, human. The hegemony has conquered dozens of worlds. They know every standard tactic. But they don't know human tactics, Taejin said. Because we've never fought an interstellar war before. We don't know the standard tactics either. Admiral Choi's voice came through the communication system. Fleet Commander Kess, the hegemony fleet has increased speed. Estimated arrival 6 hours. Vela turned to Taejin. What do you propose? I need to talk to our engineers, Taejin said. Both human and Valari. If we're going to improvise, we need to understand what tools we have to work with. 2 hours later, the combined engineering teams had gathered in the New Sol's cargo bay. Taejin looked at the mix of humans and aliens working together for the first time in Earth's history. The hegemony expects us to fight ship against ship, he said. But what if we don't give them that fight? What if we use our ships in ways they can't predict? Engineer Kyung-Soo Nam, Taejin's old mentor, raised his hand. What are you thinking, kid? Human ships are built for flexibility, Taejin explained. We can modify them quickly because we expect things to break. Valari ships are built for precision and power. What if we combined those approaches? A young Valari engineer named Sari looked confused. You want to modify our ships? That would violate dozens of safety protocols. Sometimes you have to break rules to save lives, Taejin replied. Vela learned that when she let me fix her ship with human parts. Specialist Min Ho-yoon, who worked on alien technology integration, stepped forward. I might be able to adapt some Valari systems to work with our ships, but it would be dangerous and unpredictable. Unpredictable is exactly what we want, Taejin said. The hegemony's computers will try to predict our tactics based on our ship capabilities. If we change those capabilities, their predictions will be wrong. Vela had been listening quietly. Now she spoke up. Taejin, what you suggest requires sharing military secrets that my people have guarded for centuries. If my government learned of this, I would be stripped of rank and exiled. Your government isn't here, Taejin replied. And if we lose this battle, rank won't matter anyway. Vela was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. Begin the modifications. The next 4 hours were a frenzy of activity. Human and Valari engineers worked side by side, sharing technology and techniques that had never been combined before. They installed Valari energy shields on human fighters, giving them unexpected protection. They modified human missile systems with Valari guidance computers, making them far more accurate. They even managed to create hybrid ships that could switch between human and Valari combat modes during battle. But the most ambitious project was Taejin's idea for infiltrating the hegemony command ship. Using a combination of human computer viruses and Valari quantum technology, they created a weapon that could turn the enemy's own systems against them. The virus will spread through their network, Minho explained to the assembled commanders. But someone has to physically plant it on their command ship. And once it activates, that ship will become extremely dangerous to everyone nearby. Admiral Choi looked at the tactical display. Who volunteers for a suicide mission? I'll do it, Taejin said immediately. Absolutely not, Vela replied firmly. The debt is mine to repay. I will plant the virus. You're needed to command the fleet, Taejin argued. I know how the virus works because I helped design it. Commander Sujin Park stepped forward. Neither of you is going alone. I'll lead a fighter escort to get you to the command ship. Sister, this is too dangerous, Taejin protested. Your family, Sujin replied. Where you go, I go. Through the windows, the first hegemony ships appeared as bright points of light against the stars. War Prime Krex Voth was announcing his demands over all communication channels. People of Earth? The alien voice was harsh and mechanical through the translators. Your world has been selected for integration into the hegemony. Surrender now, and you will be allowed to serve. Resist, and you will be destroyed. Admiral Choi activated the reply channel. This is Admiral Sung-Ho Choi of the Earth Defense Force. Earth's answer is no. The hegemony ships spread out into attack formation. The battle for humanity's freedom was about to begin. Taejin looked around at the faces of the people who were about to risk everything for his world. Human and Valari crews prepared their improvised ships. His sister checked her fighters' weapon systems. Vela stood ready to command a battle that would determine whether her debt was repaid with victory or death. 3 years ago, he had fixed a broken cooling system. Now the fate of 2 species hung in the balance. The first wave of hegemony fighters screamed toward Earth's defensive line like angry wasps. Taejin watched from the bridge of Vela's flagship as the battle began, with flashes of energy weapons lighting up the darkness of space. Human ships, engage Formation 7. Admiral Choi's voice crackled through the communication system. Valari ships, execute defensive pattern Alpha. But the enemy was not attacking as expected. Instead of the direct assault their computers had predicted, the hybrid human Valari ships moved in ways that confused the hegemony targeting systems. Commander Sujin Park's fighter squadron dove beneath the enemy formation, their new Valari shields absorbing damage that should have destroyed them. Human missiles guided by alien computers struck targets with impossible accuracy. The hegemony's first attack was blunted, but barely. Their command ship is hanging back, Vela observed, studying the tactical display. War Prime Krexvoth is cautious. He's sending small groups to test our defenses. Boram looked up from her station. Our hybrid modifications are working, but the enemy is adapting faster than expected. Each wave is more effective than the last. Through the main viewport, Taejin could see explosions as ships from both sides were destroyed. Earth's defenders were holding, but at terrible cost. We need to move now, he said, before they figure out all our tricks. Vela nodded. Prepare the stealth ship. Taejin, are you certain about this plan? As certain as I was when I fixed your cooling system with spare parts, Taejin replied, trying to sound more confident than he felt. The virus device was small enough to fit in his hand, but it represented weeks of work by the best human and Valari engineers. If it worked, it would turn the hegemony's own technology against them. If it failed, he would die for nothing. The stealth ship will get you close to their command vessel, Vela explained as they walked toward the hangar bay. But once you're aboard, you'll be on your own until the virus uploads. How long will that take? Taejin asked. Approximately 8 minutes, replied Min Ho-yoon, who had insisted on joining the mission. The virus has to infiltrate their entire network before activating. 8 minutes to stay alive on an enemy ship, Taejin muttered. No pressure. The stealth ship was unlike anything in Earth's fleet. It was small, fast, and according to Vela, nearly invisible to most sensor systems, but it had no weapons and minimal shields. I should be the one going, Vela said for the 10th time as they prepared to launch. Your place is commanding the fleet, Taejin replied. Besides, this is what humans do best, improvising when everything goes wrong. Sujin's voice came through the communication system. Little brother, my squadron is ready to escort you as far as we can. Thanks, sister. Try not to get shot. You try not to get captured. The stealth ship launched smoothly from Vela's flagship. Around them, the battle raged as human and Valari ships fought desperately against overwhelming numbers. The hegemony command ship hung in the center of their formation like a dark metal mountain, bristling with weapons and armor. There, Minho pointed at a small opening near the ship's engine section. Maintenance hatch. Should be big enough for us to get inside. The stealth ship slipped through the chaos of battle like a ghost. Sujin's fighters provided cover, drawing enemy attention away from their approach. Twice, hegemony patrol ships passed within a few hundred meters, but the stealth systems held. Docking in 30 seconds, Taejin announced, taking manual control of the ship. The maintenance hatch was exactly where Minho had predicted. The stealth ship attached to the hull with a soft clang that seemed impossibly loud in the silence of space. Hull breach successful, Minho reported, reading breathable atmosphere beyond the hatch. They put on emergency breathing gear and opened the airlock. The hegemony ship's interior was dark and industrial, with red lighting that cast strange shadows. Everything was built for creatures larger and stronger than humans. The main computer core should be this way, Minho said, checking his scanner. They moved through empty corridors, past strange machinery and alien writing. The ship vibrated constantly as its weapons fired at the human Valari fleet. Taejin tried not to think about friends dying while he crept through enemy territory. Contact, Minho whispered suddenly. 2 hegemony soldiers rounded a corner ahead. They were tall and thin, With 4 arms and faces hidden behind insect-like masks, they moved with mechanical precision, clearly searching for intruders. Tae-jin pressed himself against the wall, hoping the shadows would hide them, but one of the soldiers pointed directly at their position and made a clicking sound that was probably an alarm. "Run," Tae-jin said. They sprinted through the corridors as more soldiers appeared behind them. The hegemony troops were fast, but human desperation was faster. Minho's scanner led them through a maze of passages toward the ship's central core. There, Minho pointed at a massive chamber filled with crystalline structures that pulsed with energy. "That's their main computer system." The chamber was guarded, but the guards were focused outward, not expecting attack from within. Tae-jin and Minho slipped past them and reached the central console. 8 minutes starting now, Minho said as he connected the virus device to the alien computer. The upload began immediately, but it seemed painfully slow. Progress indicators crept forward while the sounds of pursuit grew louder outside the chamber. 5 minutes remaining, Minho reported. The chamber doors burst open. Hegemony soldiers poured in, their weapons raised. But instead of firing immediately, they seemed confused by the sight of 2 small humans among their precious computers. One of the soldiers, larger than the others and wearing more elaborate armor, stepped forward. When it spoke, its voice was translated by the universal communicator. "You are the infiltrators. War Prime Krex Voth wishes to speak with you before you die." "Tell your War Prime we're busy," Tae-jin replied, watching the upload progress. 3 minutes remaining. The large soldier made what might have been a laugh. Brave words for defeated creatures. "Your fleet is broken. Your world will be harvested. Your defiance means nothing." "Maybe," Tae-jin said, "but we're not defeated yet." 2 minutes remaining. The hegemony soldiers seemed content to wait, probably following orders to keep the prisoners alive. They didn't understand that every second of delay helped the human cause. 1 minute. Minho whispered. Now the soldiers looked nervous. Some pointed their weapons directly at the humans, but still held their fire. 30 seconds. The upload bar reached 90%, 95, 98. "Upload complete," Minho announced. The virus activated instantly. Every screen in the chamber flashed from red to blue. Alien warning sounds echoed through the ship. The soldiers looked around in confusion as their own equipment began to malfunction. "What have you done?" the large soldier demanded. "We gave your computer system a case of humanity," Tae-jin replied. The virus spread through the hegemony network like wildfire. Ship systems that had worked perfectly for centuries suddenly began behaving unpredictably. Weapons targeted friendly ships. Navigation systems sent vessels in random directions. Communication networks filled with corrupted data. But the virus was too effective. The command ship's power core began overloading as conflicting instructions overwhelmed its safety systems. "The ship is going to explode," Minho said, watching his scanner readings with growing alarm. Around them, the hegemony soldiers were panicking as their equipment failed completely. Emergency lighting bathed everything in an eerie red glow. "We need to get out of here," Tae-jin said. But between them and escape stood dozens of confused, angry alien soldiers. And even if they reached their stealth ship, the explosion would probably destroy it before they could get clear. Through the command ship's hull, Tae-jin could hear new sounds, the distinctive whine of Valari engines approaching at high speed. "Vela," he whispered, hoping somehow she could hear him. The rescue was coming, but would it arrive in time? The hegemony command ship shuddered as explosions rippled through its hull. Tae-jin and Minho pressed themselves against the computer chamber wall as debris rained down from the ceiling. Around them, alien soldiers stumbled and fell as their own ship turned against them. "Emergency power failing," Minho reported, reading his scanner through the chaos. "The virus is causing cascade failures throughout their entire network." Through the ship's communication system, they could hear War Prime Krex Voth screaming orders in a dozen different languages. But his commands only made things worse as the virus twisted them into contradictory instructions that paralyzed his fleet. "We need to move," Tae-jin said. "This ship won't last much longer." But the corridor outside was filled with confused hegemony soldiers. Some fired wildly at shadows. Others tried desperately to restore order to systems that no longer obeyed logical commands. The virus had turned their perfectly organized military machine into pure chaos. Suddenly, a new sound cut through the noise, the distinct energy signature of Valari weapons cutting through the ship's hull. Someone's coming for us, Minho said hopefully. The chamber's outer wall exploded inward. Through the smoking breach, Valari soldiers in combat armor poured into the room. Leading them was Vela herself, her crystal skin patches blazing with inner light as she moved with deadly grace. "Taijin," she called out, cutting down 2 hegemony soldiers who tried to block her path. "Over here," Taijin shouted back. Vela fought her way across the chamber, her energy weapon leaving burning trails in the air. Behind her, Commander Boram and a squad of Valari Marines cleared the area with professional efficiency. "The ship is going to explode," Taijin told Vela as she reached them. "The virus worked too well." "I know," Vela replied. "That's why I came personally. Move." They ran through corridors that sparked with electrical fires and buckled under structural stress. The hegemony ship was tearing itself apart as its own systems fought each other. Valari soldiers covered their retreat, buying precious seconds with their lives. There, Boram pointed ahead to where a Valari assault ship had attached itself to the hull like a metal parasite. "Emergency extraction vessel!" They dove through the airlock just as another explosion shook the dying command ship. The Valari pilot didn't wait for confirmation. The small ship tore away from the hegemony vessel and accelerated toward safety. Behind them, War Prime Krex Voth's flagship erupted in a chain reaction of explosions that lit up space like a newborn star. The blast was so bright that ships throughout the battle zone had to adjust their viewing screens. "Status of the hegemony fleet?" Vela asked as they reached her flagship. "Complete chaos," Boram reported with satisfaction. "The virus spread to over 60% of their ships before we destroyed the command vessel. Their remaining commanders are fighting each other for control while their own computers work against them." Through the main viewports, Taijin could see the enemy fleet scattering. Ships that had moved in perfect formation now wandered aimlessly, or fired on their own allies. The virus had done exactly what it was designed to do: turn the hegemony's greatest strength into their greatest weakness. Earth Defense Force reports minimal additional losses. Admiral Choi's voice came through the communication system. "The enemy fleet is in full retreat." "I don't think they'll be back," cheers erupted on the bridge. Human and Valari crew members embraced each other as the reality of victory sank in. Earth was safe, but Vela looked troubled. When Taijin approached her, she was staring out at the stars with an expression he couldn't read. "We won," he said. "Your debt is paid, is it?" Vela asked quietly. "I came here to repay a kindness with a kindness. Instead, I brought war to your world." "You didn't bring the war," Taijin replied. "The hegemony chose to attack us. You chose to stand with us." Commander Boram limped over, her armor scorched from the rescue mission. "Commander, I must protest your actions. You abandoned your command position to personally rescue this human. It violated every principle of fleet tactics." "You're right," Vela said simply. "It was tactically unsound. Then why did you do it?" Boram asked. Vela looked at Taijin, then back at her second in command. 3 years ago, this human saved my mission without thinking of reward or recognition. Today, he risked his life to save my people and his own. How could I let him die alone?" Boram was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Perhaps there is wisdom in human tactics after all." Over the following days, as rescue crews searched for survivors and engineers began repairing damaged ships, the full scope of the victory became clear. The virus had not only stopped the hegemony attack, it had crippled their entire regional fleet. Other worlds that had been marked for conquest were now free. Taijin found himself in the strange position of being a hero. News reporters wanted interviews. Military commanders wanted to study his tactics. Politicians wanted to use his story for their own purposes. But what mattered most to him was a quiet conversation with Vela in the observation deck of her flagship. "My government has ordered me to return home," she said. "They're not happy that I shared military secrets with humans. Will you be punished?" Taijin asked. "Probably. But I don't regret my choice," she smiled slightly. "You've taught me something important about honor, Taijin Park." "What's that?" "True honor isn't about following codes or repaying debts. It's about choosing to do right when you don't have to." They stood in comfortable silence, watching Earth turn slowly below them. The planet looked peaceful and blue, with no sign of the battle that had raged in its orbit. "There's something else," Vela said. "My people want to establish a formal alliance with humanity. Not based on trade agreements or mutual defense pacts, but on something new." "What kind of alliance?" "Friendship," Vela replied. "Your species has shown us a different way of thinking about relationships between peoples. We want to learn more." 6 months later, Taijin stood in the observation deck of the joint human-Valari research station that orbited Mars. Through the windows, he could see ships from both species working together on projects that would have been impossible alone. The station was a marvel of combined engineering, human adaptability merged with Valari, precision to create something greater than either could achieve separately. Children from both species played together in the station's gardens, learning each other's languages and customs. "Any regrets?" Vela asked, joining him at the viewing port. Her injuries from the rescue mission had healed, leaving only faint scars on her crystal skin patches. "About what?" Taijin replied. "About fixing my cooling system 3 years ago. If you had minded your own business that day, none of this would have happened." Taijin thought about it. He remembered the fear during the battle, the terror of infiltrating the enemy ship, the weight of knowing that millions of lives depended on his actions. But he also remembered the moment when Valari and human crews had cheered together after the victory. He thought about the children playing in the gardens below, growing up in a universe where two species had chosen friendship over suspicion. "No regrets," he said finally. "Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness create the most profound changes." Vela nodded. "My debt to you is finally paid, Taijin Park. But I've learned something from human culture. Friendship is not about debts. It's about choosing to stand together because we care about each other." "So what happens now?" Taijin asked. "Now we build something new," Vela replied. "Together." Outside the station, human and Valari ships passed each other in space, their crews waving at each other through the viewports. It was a small gesture, but Taijin had learned that small gestures could change the universe. 3 years ago, he had been a simple engineer who helped someone in trouble. Now he watched two species working together to explore the stars, all because he had chosen kindness over indifference. It had been, he thought, a very good choice.